Today's practice is going to be a little bit different. We are going to be using some blocks for this practice. So if you don't have any blocks, just something that's kind of relatively sturdy and two of them roughly the same size. So a couple of solid books would work really, really well. Our practice today is going to be all about strength and energy. So this is for the Women's Health series that I'm doing, but obviously you can do it any time. It doesn't just have to be when you're in your follicular phase, but this is what I'm aiming at today. So when we're in a follicular phase at the start of our cycle, we've got energy levels are on the rise. We're doing quite well hormonally, and we have quite a bit of flexibility, and our muscles are a little bit softer. So it's a really nice time in terms of energy to do a slightly more challenging practice, and also to think about strength and building up muscle tone through resistance, and also a little bit of bone density as well. So great if you're in perimenopause or you're going through menopause as well. So it is going to be a strength-based class, but we won't do too much of anything. And at any point that you want to take a break, just pause, come down into child's pose and take a breather. Much better to just pace yourself through the class and do the whole class than count yourself out before we've even started. Okay, so let's come down initially into child's pose, and I'm using the blocks straight away. So bring your hands onto the blocks and then walk yourself back to find your child's pose. So the knees can be as wide apart as you would like them. And then bringing your forehead down to the mat so you're getting a nice stretch through the shoulders and through the upper arm and through the upper back. So we're going to use the blocks really just to kind of change the sensation of a lot of the poses today. And just in doing that, we can really target and focus on some very specific muscle groups. So keep that nice long stretch through the arms, through the upper back. Take a few deep breaths into your low back. And then we're going to push into the block, push into our knees to come up, finding all fours on the block. I need to use the blocks back. We'll just take a few rounds of cat and cow to begin with. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, dropping the chest, the belly, lifting the chin, looking up, pressing the floor away from you, tucking the tailbone under. You'll notice straight away the different sensations and the different kind of stretches you can get using the blocks. So just warming up the spine, taking your time. You have to look a certain way, feeling into it. This is my first practice of the day, so I can feel that my low back is a little bit tight. My hips and my hamstrings are a little bit tight. So I'm going to be taking this gently. Let's take one more round. And then coming back, we're just going to walk the knees back just until you can shift yourself forward so that you're in this shoulder plank, in your knee plank. And just drawing in your stomach here, just staying here. Now we're going to focus on the shoulder blades initially. So we're going to think about protraction and retraction. So we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades in together and then broaden them apart. Keeping the arms straight, just think about squeezing the shoulder blades in like you're trying to squeeze a pencil, and then move them apart. Take a couple more. Drawing in the tummy. And then just take a little Cat pose, stretch, and back up towards the ceiling. Loosen up the lower back again. See how that upper back now feels. You're going to walk the arms slightly forward and you're going to come up into your full plank on your tippy toes, bringing the weight forward. Take a breath, and then we're going to come down with the knees and back up to plank. Let's do that 4 more times. Good, okay. Finding either your full plank or your knee plank, whichever option. We're going to retract the shoulders again, squeeze them in together, but this time bend the elbows so you're coming down into a little chaturanga. Straighten the elbows, broadening the shoulder blades. Tiny little push-up. 4 more. Keeping the elbows in, focusing the movement from the shoulder blade. You don't have to go down deep to feel this. One more, and come into your child's pose. Just take a little breather. Couple of nice big breaths. Notice the energy rising. When you're ready, calming back, hands on the blocks, coming up into full plank on your toes. Weight over your wrists. Let's lift the right leg and set it down, and the left leg and set it down. Let's do that 4 more times on each side. Think about moving from the glutes, trying to keep the upper back as still as possible. One more on each side. Not going to lie, I lost count. And then a little bend through the elbows. Tuck the toes so the top of the feet are on the mat. Little back bend, up dog. Nice stretch through the core muscles. And then press into the block. Tuck the toes again. Hips to ceiling, downward facing dog. Ooh, and stretch it out here. Let the head hang. You maybe notice with the blocks that you can actually get your feet, your heels down onto the mat or much closer to the mat. Take a nice long stretch, walk out the dog a little bit. Get your breath back. When you're ready, come to stillness. Take a big breath. Let it go. Let's lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. Bend the knee, open up the hip. If you're trying to bring that right foot over to the left hip, but keeping the chest pointed down towards the floor. One more breath here. Bring the knee to the chest, shift the weight forward and step through. You might find that's a lot easier. Again, because we've got the blocks. Now I'm going to turn the blocks onto their highest level and adjust my top. Keeping your hands on the blocks, you can wiggle that toe back until you come into a runner's lunge. Let the hips drop, lift the eyes to look ahead. Just rocking backwards and forwards a little bit just to get through my calf. Nice stretch here. Come to stillness. Pressing into the blocks, we're going to pivot that back foot so that it's not quite at 45 degrees and not quite parallel with the short edge of the mat, just at a slight angle. I'm going to bring my hands off the block, pressing into that front knee, coming up into warrior two. So my hips are pointing up at the moment towards that top corner of the mat. Just put your hands on your hips so that you can turn them towards the long edge of the mat and then activate through the glute to keep this knee open. Once you find that, bring the shoulder blades together, arms straight, turning to look over that right hand. Taking some nice big breaths here. Really strengthening pose for the glutes and the lower legs. Take another breath. On the exhale, drop your back arm to the back leg, lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Little side bend, stretching up towards those fingers. Breathing into the side body, keeping the legs the same. Next, exhale, come and bring that right forearm either onto your leg or down onto that block. Lifting the left arm up towards the ceiling, legs are the same, extended side angle. Big stretch through the left side of the body. Use the legs to come back up. Find warrior two. Cartwheel the hands, turn the blocks flat on the ground, hands on the blocks, step back, downward facing dog. Big stretch. Letting it go. 3 breaths here. Okay, when you're ready, left leg comes up towards the ceiling, bend the knee, open up the hip. Stretching through that left hip. And then knee to chest, weight forward. Bring that left foot through, turn the blocks to their highest level. Wiggle yourself down into runner's lunge. Nice stretch. Keep it moving. Shoulders back, head up. When you're ready, pressing into those blocks, pivot that foot. Find that little action, that angle with the foot. Pressing into the right leg. I'm actually going to bring mine a little bit closer together, I think. Bring yourself up, turning the hips towards the long edge of the mat, and using your glutes to turn that left knee out. Now, my hip doesn't actually externally rotate very well on the left, so you can see my knee is quite far in. I'm just going to adjust my hips slightly just to make sure that knee is over the front 2 toes of my foot. Find that posture. Bringing the shoulder blades together like you're squeezing a pencil, looking over the left hand. Several big breaths here. Feeling the strength in your legs, making sure your weight is evenly distributed. And let's drop the right arm, lift the left arm up. Nice long stretch. Breathing into the left side of the waist. And then coming down, either forearm on your leg, or use the block, right arm up towards the ceiling. Extended side angle. And I'm really pressing that knee, my left knee, into my left elbow there. You can kind of pivot the right side of the body up towards the ceiling. One big breath here. Pressing into the legs to come back up. Find your warrior two again. One breath, pivot the arms. Move the blocks, coming back. Downward facing dog. Big stretch, beautiful. Okay, let's just bring the weight forward for a moment, back into plank. Roll over the toes, tops of the feet are on the mat, drop the hips, up dog. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog, beautiful. One more stretch. And then bring the knees down to the mat. Okay, couple of final poses using the block. We're just going to use one block for these last ones. Coming onto the mat, bring one block in between your upper thighs, in between the adductors. Bringing the feet onto the mat and just really squeeze that block. You're going to bring your hands behind the back of the thighs. Take a breath, rock back onto your hip bones, lifting your knees so you're in boat pose. Really, really focus on squeezing that block. Pull the shoulders back, head up straight. If you like, you can bring the arms out. Squeeze the block. Straighten the shoulders. If you want to lift the arms, you can. Straighten the legs as well. It's way too much for me this morning. Okay, we're going to come down into low boat, low back on the mat. Bring the knees in, little hug, let it go. Good. Okay, wiggle yourself down the mat a little bit. Last pose here, bring it back, the block back between your upper thighs. Feet are hip width apart. Really squeeze into the block. Arms relaxed beside you. Squeeze in, start to lift the hips, coming up into bridge pose. Really squeeze that block. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. Lengthening the tailbone back towards the shoulders, pressing into the feet. Keep squeezing. And gently lower down. Good. Keep the block where it is. You're going to walk your heels out till your knees are just like a couple of inches off the mat. Pressing the backs of the upper arms into the mat, pressing the heels into the mat, squeeze into the block and use that to lift your hips just an inch or two off the mat. So this is a foundation bridge. You'll feel it all along the back body. Big strengthening action. Squeezing in. And let it go. Okay, let's get rid of the block. Take a long stretch. Just going to take a little reclined twist just to finish. Bring the feet to the mat. Lift the hips, move them to the right. Drop the knees to the left. Keep opening out the right arm, looking towards that right hand. Relaxing the low back, relaxing the belly, letting go of all the practice that you've just done. Noticing that buzzing feeling of energy, how you've activated through all the core muscles in the body. Really feeling a little bit pleased with yourself. And let's go to the other side. So lift the knees up towards the ceiling. Move the hips over to the left. Knees go to the right. Left arm out beside you, maybe looking over that left arm. Relaxing through the low back, relaxing through the belly. Letting yourself be heavy here. No need to do more muscular engagement now. And then when you're ready, just rolling onto your back, spreading out, letting your legs and your arms get wide, feet dropping open, arms away from the body, letting yourself get heavy. And just taking a minute or two here in Shavasana, just to let your body integrate all that muscular work that you've done. Especially if you're in perimenopause or menopause, really just encourage you to follow this practice up with a nice high protein snack of some kind, just to help keep building up all the bone structure and the muscles. And hopefully just going about your day feeling a bit more confident, a bit more energized, and quite proud of what you've done today. Thank you so much for practicing with me.